The cold room smelled of metal and fading medicine. Machines hummed weakly in the corner. A young alien woman lay on the bed, her body thin, her skin pale, her breath shallow. The doctors stood around her, their faces blank, their voices sharp. "She will not survive," one said flatly. "Her organs are failing." "We must not waste more time," another replied. The girl heard them. Even though her eyes were heavy, even though her head spun, their words cut through her like a blade. They were not trying anymore. They were leaving her. The doctors turned away, their long coats swaying as they moved to the door. They whispered among themselves, voices low but cruel. To them, she was just a failed patient, a broken body not worth saving. The girl's heart raced. She wanted to shout, to beg, but no sound left her throat. Her lips trembled, but only silence came out. Her eyes filled with tears that rolled slowly down her face. The machines beside her beeped in uneven rhythm. She felt weaker with every second. The lights in the room dimmed, as if the hospital itself had decided to forget her. Alone, abandoned, waiting for death. Her mind screamed questions. Why did they give up? Was my life so cheap? Did no one care? But then, a sound broke the silence. The door opened again, not with the hurried step of a doctor, but with the careful push of someone uncertain. Boots clicked against the floor. A shadow stretched across the room. A human man stood at the entrance. His uniform was dusty, his face tired, his eyes sharp. He looked around and saw her lying there. His gaze locked onto the girl, and in that moment, his jaw tightened. He stepped closer, his footsteps echoing in the hollow room. His eyes flicked to the machines, then back to her face. The girl's weak eyes widened just slightly, surprise flickering inside her fading mind. He crouched beside the bed. His voice was low but filled with anger, not at her, but at what had been done. "They left you here," he whispered. "Like you are nothing." The girl blinked slowly, a tear sliding down her cheek. She could not answer, but her silence was enough. The human glanced at the door, then back at her. He saw the bruises on her arms, the marks of failed treatments, the despair in her eyes. Something inside him burned hotter. He clenched his fists. "Not while I am here," he said softly but firmly. The girl's breathing hitched. For the first time in days, she felt something different. A spark. A strange warmth in her chest. The human rose and walked to the machines. His hands hovered, unsure of the alien technology. But his face showed determination. He would not leave her dot from the hallway. Faint voices drifted. The doctors laughing, speaking of other patients, forgetting her existence. The human's eyes hardened. He turned back to her. "You are not alone," he said. "Not anymore." The girl's tears fell faster. Her lips moved slightly, though no sound came. Still he understood. She wanted to live. The beeping of the machines grew weaker, warning of collapse. The room seemed to close in, heavy with finality. But the human leaned closer, his face inches from hers. "Hold on," he urged. "I will not let you die here." "Not like this." The girl's chest rose faintly, her eyes locked on his. For the first time since the doctors had abandoned her, she felt seen. She felt hope, fragile, flickering, but real. The machines gave a long, shrill beep, signaling danger. Lights blinked red. The doctors were gone. No one else would come. Only the human remained, the stranger who refused to turn away. And in that fading, desperate room, the story began. The machine screamed in long, shrill tones, its red light flashing like a warning of death. The girl's breaths came slower, weaker. Her hands trembled, her chest barely moved. The sound filled the silent room, each beep like a hammer striking the wall of life and death. The human stood frozen for 1 second. Then his instincts roared to life. He slammed his hand against the control panel, even though he had no idea how alien machines worked. The buttons glowed, symbols he could not read, strange shapes that meant nothing to him. Still, he pressed, twisted, searched. Nothing changed. The machine continued its merciless scream. "Come on!" He growled, hitting the side of the device as if brute force might bend it to his will. The girl's eyes fluttered. Her lips parted as if to whisper goodbye. "No," he said, his voice like iron. "You are not leaving." "Not like this." From the hallway came faint footsteps, the sound of doctors moving toward other patients. Their voices carried mocking laughter, cold words. "She must be gone by now," one voice sneered. "Good. She was wasting a bed." The human's jaw tightened. His fists clenched. He turned to the door, fury in his eyes, but then the girl's weak breath pulled him back. He dropped to her side again, gripping her fragile hand. "Listen to me," he said quickly. "Stay with me. Don't give up now. If they won't fight for you, I will." Her fingers twitched against his palm. The faintest movement. But it was enough. He felt her spirit struggling, refusing to sink. His eyes darted across the room, searching for anything. A drawer half open. A tray of discarded tools. He rushed to it, pulling out strange tubes, sharp instruments, packs of fluids he could not name. Alien medical gear, but maybe still useful. He brought them to the bed, his hands shaking but his mind sharp. He did not know the science, but he knew survival. He had patched soldiers on battlefields with nothing but cloth and fire. He had pulled comrades back from the edge when everyone else said it was too late. "Different body, same fight," he muttered, forcing his hands to move faster. The machine's scream softened as he adjusted something blindly, almost by luck. The beeping slowed, uneven but steady again. Her chest rose deeper than before. The girl's eyes flicked open. Not wide, but enough to show she was still there. Her gaze locked on him, fragile and desperate. He leaned closer. "That's it. Breathe. Keep breathing. I've got you." For a moment, the red lights calmed, though the danger was not gone. Sweat slid down his forehead as he adjusted another tube, forcing fluid into her veins. The liquid glowed faintly, alien medicine perhaps, but her skin regained a touch of color. Her breathing steadied. Not safe, not healed, but steadier. The human exhaled hard, his shoulders trembling. He looked at her and saw the life fighting inside her chest. A spark had returned, faint but burning. The door creaked. Two doctors peeked inside. Their faces twisted with annoyance. "What are you doing in here?" One snapped. "She is already finished. Leave her." The human turned his head slowly. His eyes burned with a rage so cold it made both doctors freeze in the doorway. "Finished?" His voice was low, dangerous. "She is alive. Because I didn't walk away like you did." The doctors scoffed, but their steps faltered. "You are wasting your time. Humans don't understand our medicine." "Maybe not," he said. "But I understand this. Life is worth saving. Every time." His words struck like a blade. The doctors sneered, muttered something about resources and left. Unwilling to argue further, the human turned back to the girl. He touched her hand again, softer this time. "They can laugh, they can mock, but I will not let them decide your worth." Her fingers twitched once more, a tiny sign of trust. Her lips moved, the faintest whisper escaping. Maybe a word, maybe only air. But he leaned close and caught it. Hope. He froze. She had spoken, however weakly. A single word. A word he would not forget. He nodded, gripping her hand tighter. "Yes, Hope, hold on to it. I'll carry it with you." The machines continued their uncertain rhythm. Danger was not over. But now, there was something the doctors had not seen. Something they had refused to believe. Hope had returned, and the human had sworn to defend it. The night in the medical wing felt endless. The human sat by the girl's side, his uniform stained with sweat and dust, his hands still trembling from what he had just done. The alien machines gave weak beeps, but at least they were no longer screaming. For now, her fragile life held on. The girl lay still, her chest rising in uneven rhythm. Her skin was pale, her lips cracked, yet her eyes opened a little from time to time. Each time, they searched for him, not the doctors, not the staff, but the stranger who had chosen to stay. He noticed it. The way her gaze always followed him. The way her hand twitched when his fingers brushed against hers. She was clinging to him, to his voice, to his presence. That alone made his resolve even harder. "You're safe," he whispered, though his voice carried more hope than certainty. "As long as I'm here, you're safe." From the hallway, sharp footsteps echoed again. A group of alien doctors and nurses walked past, their voices full of annoyance. One of them muttered, "He still hasn't left?" "Foolish human." Another laughed coldly. "Let him waste his time. She will be gone by sunrise." The human's jaw clenched. He wanted to storm out and confront them, but then he looked at the girl. Her breathing shook, as if the cruel voices outside could still reach her. He leaned closer, speaking softly but firmly. "Don't listen to them. You are not gone. Not yet. Stay with me." Her eyelids fluttered. Weak tears slipped down her cheeks. She could not answer, but he saw the faintest nod that he knew he needed more than stubbornness. If she was to survive, he had to understand the alien tools scattered around the room. He pulled the tray closer, studying the glowing tubes, the strange devices that hummed faintly with energy. His soldier's mind worked fast. He had no training in alien medicine, but he had learned to improvise in war. He had stitched wounds with scraps of cloth, stopped bleeding with his bare hands, even dragged comrades through fire when others called it hopeless. Now, he told himself, this was no different. He examined one tube, liquid glowing faintly blue. Carefully, he checked the machine already attached to her. The fluid pouch had nearly emptied. If it ran dry, she might fade again. He forced his shaking hands to act. Slowly, carefully, he replaced the empty pouch with the new one. For a moment, the machine protested with a sharp alarm, but then the fluid began to drip. The beeping softened. The girl's lips parted, her breath grew just a little steadier. Her weak eyes opened again. He leaned forward, smiling faintly for the first time. "That's it, you see? We're learning together." A flicker of life touched her face. She tried to form a word. It came out broken, but he caught it. "Why? You?" The question hung between them. Why had he chosen to fight for her, a stranger, when her own people had abandoned her? He tightened his grip on her hand. "Because no one deserves to be thrown away. Not while I still breathe." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time, they were not only from pain. Something else shone in them, a fragile spark. The door banged open. 2 alien nurses entered, their faces harsh. "You," one snapped. "This patient was declared unfit. What are you doing with our supplies?" The human stood tall, his body blocking the girl from their view. "I am keeping her alive," the nurses sneered. "Pointless. She is already a shadow. Let her fade." Anger flared in his chest. His voice dropped into something cold, something dangerous. "She is not your shadow. She is alive. And if you try to stop me, you'll answer to me." The nurses hesitated. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the room. Then, muttering curses, they left, slamming the door behind them. The girl blinked slowly, her gaze locked on him. He sat back down, exhaustion pulling at his shoulders, but his resolve stronger than ever. "They can give up," he whispered to her. "But I won't. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever." Her fingers twitched again in his hand, fragile but certain. And in that small gesture, he knew the fight was only beginning. The hours dragged on like chains. The human sat by the girl's side, his body stiff, his eyes heavy, but his mind refusing to rest. Every time her breath grew shallow, every time the machine beeped in warning, he jolted awake, forcing himself to act. The girl's face glistened with sweat. Her chest rose unevenly, her lips trembled. Yet she was still here. Still alive. Each fragile breath was a victory. He refused to surrender. From outside came the faint echo of laughter, the sound of doctors celebrating a successful surgery on another patient. They had left her to die, yet their voices carried joy, as if nothing was wrong. The human's heart burned. How could they choose who deserved to live? How could they walk away from someone who still fought for every breath? He leaned close to the girl. "You are stronger than they believe," he whispered. "Stronger than they'll ever admit." Her eyes opened slightly. Weak, watery, but searching. She looked at him with silent questions. Questions her lips were too frail to speak. He understood anyway. "Will I make it? Can I survive this night?" He forced a steady smile, though his chest ached with fear. "Yes," he said firmly. "Because I won't let go. Not now. Not ever." A sudden alarm shattered the silence. The machine flashed red again. Her body convulsed slightly, her breath hitching. He shot up, grabbing the tools, his hands moving faster than his thoughts. "Not again. Stay with me," he barked, fighting the device. He swapped another tube, pressed his palm against her chest lightly to feel her heartbeat. It fluttered, weak and fragile. Panic clawed at him, but he crushed it. Soldiers did not panic. Soldiers fought. The door creaked open. A tall doctor stepped inside this time, his expression cold, calculating. He looked at the human with contempt. "You interfere with matters you cannot understand," the doctor said. "This girl is not worth the energy you waste. She will not survive. Why chain yourself to her death?" The human turned, his face a mask of defiance. "Because she still breathes." "That is reason enough," the doctor sneered. "You are a fool. Even if she lives, she will be broken. Weak. A burden." The human stepped closer, his eyes blazing. "Then I will carry that burden. She's not yours to discard." The tension between them hung heavy, but the machine's beeping grew softer. The girl's chest steadied again. The doctor's eyes flickered with surprise, then narrowed. "You meddle with forces beyond you. When she dies, her blood will be on your hands." Without waiting for a reply, the doctor turned and left, his coat swaying like a curtain of disdain. The human exhaled hard, turning back to the girl. Her eyes were half open, tears streaking her pale cheeks. He sat again, gripping her hand gently. "Don't listen to them," he said softly. "They fear what they cannot control. But I believe in you." "That's enough." Her fingers twitched again, faint but full of meaning. She was answering him, even without words. Minutes turned into hours. He fed her drops of water with trembling fingers. He wiped the sweat from her forehead. He adjusted the tubes again and again, guessing, hoping, refusing to stop. Each small act felt like a battle. At one point, her breathing stopped for a heartbeat too long. His chest froze, fear clawing at him. But then she gasped again, pulling in air like a fighter dragging herself from the ground. His eyes filled with fire. She was not done. She still wanted to live. "Good," he whispered fiercely. "Fight with me. Don't let them win." The night outside grew darker. The hallways fell silent as the doctors retreated to their quarters. Only the human remained awake, his body weary, his soul burning. Beside him the girl lay fragile, broken, but alive. Her faint spark had not gone out, and as he sat there, keeping watch, he realized something. This was no longer only about saving a patient. This was about defying a world that had chosen cruelty over compassion. It was about proving that even one human, alone in the dark, could stand against indifference. The night was not over. The fight had only begun. The first light of dawn crept through the narrow windows of the medical wing, painting the cold floor in pale gold. The human had not moved from his chair all night. His eyes were bloodshot, his shoulders heavy, but his grip on the girl's hand remained firm. She was still breathing. Weak, uneven, but breathing. Every rise and fall of her chest felt like a victory he had stolen back from death. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at her again. Her lips parted as though she wanted to speak. A broken whisper came out, no louder than a breath. Still. Here, the human's heart clenched. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Yes, he said softly. Still here. You made it through the night. Before he could say more, the door slid open. A group of doctors entered, their faces sharp, their eyes full of cold judgment. One of them stepped forward, holding the clipboard. She should be dead by now, the doctor muttered. How is she still alive? Another replied, because this human refuses to let her go. He tampers with our equipment, using supplies meant for others. The human rose slowly, exhaustion in his body, but fire in his eyes. I did not tamper, he said firmly. I saved her. Something you refused to do, the first doctor scoffed. For what? She is damaged. She will not recover enough to be useful. The human's voice dropped lower, sharper. She is alive. That is enough. Tension filled the room. The doctors looked at each other, then at the girl, who blinked weakly, her hand twitching in his grasp. She was proof against their cruel words. She was not gone. Finally, the doctors turned away, muttering about wasted time. One of them hissed under his breath, if she survives, it will only be as his burden. The door closed, leaving silence behind. The human sat back down, his chest rising and falling with anger. He looked at the girl again, his voice gentler now. Don't listen to them. They see numbers, resources, limits. I see you. Her lips trembled. A faint tear slid down her cheek. She wanted to answer, but her body betrayed her. Still, he understood the message in her eyes. She believed him. The day dragged on. He left her side only once, to find more supplies. He moved like a thief through the quiet corridors, slipping into storage rooms. He carried back new fluid packs, clean cloths, and tools he did not fully understand. When he returned, she looked at him with relief, as though she had feared he would vanish like everyone else. He set the supplies down and whispered, See? I will always come back. Hours later, the machines began to falter again. The steady beeping grew erratic. Her breathing shallowed. Panic rose in him, but he forced it down. He replaced another pouch, adjusted the wires, and whispered encouragement. Stay. Don't drift away now. We've come too far. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but shining with a fragile determination. She fought to draw breath, each inhale like climbing a mountain. He saw it, her spirit refusing to quit, matching his own resolve. At that moment, something inside him shifted. She was not just a patient anymore. She was a fighter. And he realized he was no longer just saving her life. He was fighting alongside her. The sun rose higher outside, casting light across the room. For the first time, he saw color return faintly to her face. Her skin no longer looked like fading ash. The glow of life was returning, fragile but real. He sat back, a slow breath escaping his lungs. Relief washed over him, but he knew the fight was not finished. If the doctors had their way, they would still let her fade. If the machines failed again, he would need more than luck. He looked at her, his voice steady despite the weight in his chest. You are stronger than they know. Stronger than even I knew. We will see another night. I promise you that. Her fingers closed weakly around his hand, not just twitching this time, but gripping. The touch was faint, but it carried meaning. It was her answer. She was choosing life. And with that choice, he knew the real battle had only begun. The human had lost count of the hours. Days and nights blended together inside the dim hospital room. He had not left her side, not even for rest. His eyes were red, his body heavy, but his grip on her hand never loosened. The girl's breaths came steadier now, but she was far from safe. The machines flickered often, alarms cried without warning, and each time he fought back against the threat of losing her, yet something had changed. She no longer looked like a shadow of herself. Her cheeks held a faint color, her eyes stayed open longer, and when he spoke to her, she responded with weak but clear movements. A twitch of her fingers, a faint squeeze, a broken word whispered through cracked lips. One morning, when the first rays of light entered the room, she whispered, "Why? Fight for me?" He leaned closer, his voice soft but firm. "Because your life matters. Even if no one else sees it, I do." Her eyes filled with tears. She turned her head slowly toward him, and in that fragile moment, something unspoken passed between them. A bond forged in suffering and defiance. But peace never lasted long. The door slid open. 3 senior doctors walked in, their expressions cold, their arms crossed behind their backs. They looked at the girl, then at the human, with disdain. "This has gone too far," one said. "You have used supplies meant for others," another added. The third, older and sharper, stepped closer. "We will end this farce. She is not worth the energy you waste." The human stood, his body stiff with exhaustion but his spirit blazing. "She is alive. Look at her. Look at her eyes. She wants to live," the doctors sneered. "Her body is failing. Keeping her alive only delays the inevitable. Remove the machines. Let her pass." His fists clenched. For a moment, he thought of lunging at them, but the girl's weak grip on his hand stopped him. He looked down at her. Her eyes, wide with fear, pleaded silently. He turned back to the doctors, his voice like stone. "If you touch her, you will answer to me." The room grew tense. The senior doctor narrowed his eyes. "Do not forget where you stand, human. This is our facility. You have no authority here." "I don't need authority," he said, stepping forward, his shadow falling across the bed. "I only need the will to fight. And I swear, if you try to take her life, you will have to take mine first." For a moment, silence reigned. The doctors exchanged uneasy glances. The human's stance, his blazing eyes, his unshaken resolve, it unsettled them. Finally, the older doctor scoffed. "You are reckless. When she dies, her blood will stain your hands." He turned sharply and left. The others following. The door slammed shut. The girl's chest rose quickly, her breaths uneven. Fear still lingered in her eyes. The human sat again, calming himself, then brushed a gentle hand across her damp forehead. "It's all right. I won't let them take you. Not while I breathe." Her lips moved slowly. A faint sound came, barely audible. "Trust you." His heart tightened. He leaned closer, whispering back, "Then hold on. Just a little longer. We will make it through this storm." The hours that followed were brutal. The machines failed twice, their lights flashing red. Each time, he scrambled, replacing tubes, pressing wires, guessing at functions until the alarms died down. His hands shook, sweat dripped from his face, but he did not stop. Every time he looked at her, he found the strength to continue. Her fragile grip, her faint eyes, her will to survive, they pushed him beyond exhaustion. As night fell, the medical wing outside grew silent. Only the two of them remained in the room, surrounded by machines that groaned like tired beasts. The human leaned back, his eyes heavy, but his voice steady. "They think you are weak. They think you have no chance. But I know better. You are stronger than they could ever imagine." Her fingers squeezed his hand again, faint, fragile, but certain. And in that moment he knew the breaking point was near. One last battle would decide whether she lived or faded forever. The night pressed heavy on the hospital. The halls outside were silent, But inside the small room, the air was thick with tension. The human sat hunched forward, his hand wrapped tightly around the girl's fragile fingers. His eyes were rimmed red, his body trembling from exhaustion, but he refused to let go. The machines hummed weakly, their lights flickering. Suddenly, one gave a harsh alarm, louder than before. The steady beeping that had carried her life began to fall apart, stumbling into chaos. Her chest rose in shallow gasps. Her lips turned pale. "No, not now," the human whispered, his voice breaking. He leapt toward the machine, pressing buttons, forcing tubes back into place. Nothing worked. The red lights flashed harder. The girl's eyes fluttered half open. She looked at him, weak and resigned, as if she was slipping beyond his reach. "Don't you dare," he growled, shaking his head fiercely. "Don't you leave me now. Not after everything." Her lips moved faintly. A whisper brushed the air. "Tired, so tired." Tears burned his eyes, but his voice rose like thunder. "Then let my strength be yours. Just hold on a little longer." He slammed his hand on the machine, pulling at wires, forcing new energy packs into its core. Sparks jumped. The alarm fell silent. The beeping returned, shaky but alive. Her chest rose again, deeper this time. Color flushed faintly back into her face. He sank to his knees beside the bed, gripping her hand tightly. "That's it," he said hoarsely. "Come back to me. You're stronger than this. You're stronger than all of them." The door burst open. The senior doctor stormed in, anger blazing in his eyes. Behind him, 2 nurses followed, holding tools meant to disconnect the machines. "This ends now," the doctor shouted. "You defy our orders, you steal our supplies, you insult our judgment. She should have been gone days ago." The human rose slowly, fury burning in his gaze. His body was weary, but his spirit stood tall like a mountain. He placed himself between the girl and the approaching nurses. "You will not touch her," he said, his voice like stone. "She is worthless." The doctor spat. "She is alive," the human thundered. "That is worth everything." The nurses hesitated, caught between the doctor's command and the fire in the human's eyes. The girl, weak but conscious, lifted her hand faintly. Her trembling voice whispered, "Please." That single word, fragile, broken, yet filled with longing, froze everyone in place. The human turned to her, his face softening. He knelt, taking her hand in both of his. "I hear you. I will fight for you. Always." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were not of despair. They were of hope. The doctor scoffed, his voice dripping with scorn. "You cannot change her fate. If she lives, she will be a burden. If she dies, she will at least free us of waste." The human stood again, his chest rising with fire. "You don't see her strength. You don't see her will. But I do. And I will prove you wrong." He moved to the machine, his hands working fast. The girl's heartbeat grew stronger, her breathing deeper. The nurses watched in disbelief. Even the doctor's eyes narrowed with unease. Minutes stretched into eternity, but at last, the alarm stopped. The machines hummed steady. The girl's chest rose smoothly, her face no longer pale. For the first time, she looked like someone who might truly live. The human exhaled, tears sliding down his face. He touched her hand, whispering, "You made it. You fought, and you won." Her lips moved again, this time clearer. "Because you stayed." The human smiled faintly, his exhaustion breaking into quiet relief. "I promised I wouldn't leave. And I never will." The doctor turned sharply, muttering curses as he stormed out. The nurses lingered a moment longer, staring at the girl with something new in their eyes, not scorn, but awe. When they left, the room fell silent again. Only the steady hum of machines and the quiet rhythm of her breathing filled the air. The human sat back, his body heavy, but his spirit light. He looked at her, fragile yet radiant, and realized this was more than survival. This was a beginning. Against the cold indifference of her world, against the cruelty of those who abandoned her, one human had stood alone, and because of that, she still lived. Her story, their story had just begun.